Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Hadiza, and this is Africa Living with Hadiza. So I went for an IFA reading. Today's video is going to be talking about, my experience at the IFA reading and why I think African spirituality and understanding African spirituality is so important, especially for this generation. Make sure you watch this video to the end. Now, I want to say a little bit about the Ifa, religion or the Ifa spiritual practice before I show you the reading that I had. Now, Ifa is one of the oldest religions in the world. It's practically not considered as a religion, considered more as a way of life by the Yoruba people. Ifa focused on having, a deep understanding of the divine order. It was a way in which people were able to make sense out of their life by observation of the connection between nature, the ways of nature, and the patterns of man, which, according to Ifa, the way of nature was reflected in the life of man. So, in understanding how nature worked, they were able to predict what your life was going to be like. Now, I know that for a lot of people, African spirituality has kind of been condemned in the sense that it's been made to look very evil, very demonic, very um, you know, blood centered and all of that. But the truth and the reality will always remain that spirituality, everybody's form of religion or spirituality, is a form of technology, is a form of understanding how these things are, and I'm not going to sit here and act as if, oh, African spirituality was all rainbows and roses. No, ancient Africans had their issues. Ancient Africans were just as complicated as we are today, maybe even more, because they had less understanding of some things, but a greater understanding of some other things. Now, my interest and my curiosity about African spirituality is always from that point of view of what can we understand about the things that our forefathers knew? What can we pick from their practices that we can incorporate into our life today? So I wrote some things down because I've been doing, a lot of research, and I didn't want my thought process to get all over the place. So forgive me if it seems like I'm reading from a book, but I need to explain these things to you guys in detail so you will understand. So it goes, Ifa is one of the oldest religions in the world, or should I say spiritual practice? That's what I just said, right? because because for Africans, spirituality was more like a way of life rather than a set of rules and regulations. Now, the thing about the Ifa practice is it's focused on the invisible logic of the universe. What we call technology was called by ancient people the knowledge of the divine order. Stay with me. And at the core of it, that is what spirituality is all about: a people's own technology, a people's own way of life, their order, their guidance systems, their principles. And for Africans, my handwriting is difficult to read. Jesus. Now, the divine order was a sacred pattern linking spiritual patterns and mathematics. Now, let's talk about the IFA binary system. In fact, in all of my research, this was the one that really blew my mind. There are 16 principles, right? There are 16 principal Odu. Odu is what those lines were called. When you watch all these Babalao movies and you see them drawing line in the sand, double lines for some, single line for others, that is called the Odu. So 16 principal Odu, each composed of binary marks, a single line or a double line, combined to produce 256 permutations, right? Each combination carried meaning, story, and moral logic, right? Mathematically, hear me well, mathematically, this translates to 2, number 2, to the power of 8, right? This is the same. This is what I want you guys to hear me. This is the same digital architecture that is used in modern computing by today. Bust my brain. Bust my goddamn brain. Because tell me how our forefathers knew. Okay, so 256 permutations, right, in computing. That is the max of factors that you can have. That is the maximum of is like outcomes, right? Outputs. 256 is the outcome, is the maximum of outcomes that you could have. But then the Odu of Ifa, thousands of tens of thousands of years ago, replicated that same binary system that is used in computers today. Guys, Ifa was one of the most sophisticated fractals of binary thought, right? Ifa priests did not need computers to understand binary reasoning. They saw that there was a pattern in nature. There was a pattern in nature itself that replicated the pattern of life. So using that pattern in nature, they were able to tell what the story of your life was going to be like. These people had deeply contemplated the ways of nature. They understood that nature functioned to a mathematical type precision. That is, 1 plus 1 is equals to 2. These guys have seen that there cannot be any like random outcomes when it comes to nature. It functions to a mathematical principle to the smallest factor. And that was what they used to create the binary system of Ifa. In Ifa divination, as in digital computing, 256 bytes is the full range of possibilities. This is the proof that the African binary logic predated the modern coding system. Now, like I said, I'm not going to sit down here and try to say, oh, Africans are this, Africans are fantastic. Africans, yes, we are fantastic. Yes, we are special, but we are not without our flaws. 100%, 150%. Africans are extremely flawed people, but you cannot take away the fact that there was something in our system that had cracked the code of existence when it came to understanding how we function as human beings. And one of my honest beliefs is that one of the reasons why Africans are so lost today, or when it comes to the ranking of who we are in the world, is because we have been far removed from these things. Now, I'm not saying, oh, it's every single African practice that should have been carried along, because indeed, yes, there were some things that could have been considered, abnormal, barbaric, and all those words, like the killing of twins and all those other things that used to happen back in the day. But then again, it's the same way that in morphing the evolution of a people, you take what is good and you leave the bad ones aside. That is what evolution is all about. Now, I feel like one of the nuances of the African journey is that we left everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, we threw it away. Not just our own fault anyway, because we all know the story of colonialism and all of those things that happened. Glory be to God. But now that we are alive and we have cognitive dissonance, we have reasoning, we have a free world, we have the internet, we have YouTube with wealth of information, it is time for us to know who we really are. It is time for us to understand those systems, because the truth of the matter is, when you know who you are, when you know how advanced your people were, it gives you a certain sense of pride in yourself and who you are and what you can actually contribute to this world. A lot of Africans don't know what we can contribute in this world, because our story started, or it seems to start, even in our history books, our story seems to start from colonialism. Oh, Africans were colonized in the year 3000 BC. Then, what happened before then? What happened before then? We need to teach this in schools, because this would unlock something in the brain of the average African mind, to know that, wow, there is so much coded in my DNA, because whether you like it or not, we are connected to our ancestors. So that knowledge that they had, we still have it up till today. And this is not just only for the Yoruba people, because that's to show you how advanced Africans were as a people. When you delve into Kemet, right, of the ancient Egyptians or the ancient Kemet people known as the Egyptians today. They had hieroglyphics, all those things that you see on the walls in all those caves. If you've been to Egypt, and all on their pyramids and in their writings, they were not just pictures, they were binary codes. The same as the Insibidi, I hope I'm calling it right, the Insibidi for the Igbo people. These were certain ways and understanding. For the Igbo people, even in the language, there was a code in it. For the Yoruba, for the people that understand the talking drum, the African drums, these were patterns and codes that these people were transmitting not just to themselves, but even to the universe as a whole, right? I feel like there is so much of a wealth of knowledge that we are sleeping on. I would love to have a secret society one day. Sorry. I know this sounds crazy, but trust me, I would love to have a secret society of elite African knowledge because, guys, hey, we are sleeping on a bicycle. And I'm not even saying this because I'm not part of those people that do, oh, Africans are kings, Africans are queens, come around with a superiority complex. No, 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 not that. Not that we're doing it to say, oh, we're better than the rest, but we're doing it to help ourselves to understand who we actually are so we can rise to our place in society. We have been sleeping on ourselves for too long. So I would love to have a secret society where we can share this kind of deep knowledge. This is why people had secret societies in the past, to be very honest, because a lot of times this knowledge can be very overwhelming for people. And when it actually starts becoming like a movement, you become a threat. And in becoming a threat, we all know what happens to people that become threats. So that's why I would say a secret society for people who understand and appreciate this knowledge and are ready to transfer it from generation to generation. Oh my God, it's already 12 minutes. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for this long talk, guys, but I needed to get this off my chest. So we're going to jump right into the video. I'm sorry. If you've stayed till this long, I really appreciate you. We're going to jump right into the video. So in visiting the IFA priestess, I had a reading, which, well, in my own understanding, that's actually not what I wanted. I didn't really want to be read. I wanted to understand how it works. But yeah, but I understand that, with everything that is spirituality, it's kind of been mixed with the systems of what is obtainable today, because unfortunately, a lot of this knowledge has been lost. So it's not easy for people to tell you that this is what they are doing. So I went for the reading. I'm going to play that for you right away, and then we'll come back after that reading. Enjoy, guys. So we used a bag to get there, coming from the Osun Osogbo Grove. If you haven't watched my video on the Osun Osogbo Grove, please check it out. The link is going to be above right now. This video is actually a continuation from there. We went to the Osun Osogbo Grove and were told about an Ifa priestess, so we took the bike from there and we got there. Getting there, it was a little apartment. We climbed upstairs and we had a talk with the lady. I had to record a bit clandestinely because I wasn't sure if recording was going to be allowed, but in hindsight I actually should have just asked flat out if she was comfortable with the session being recorded. So because of that, I tried to blur her face, but I'm not that great at editing yet. So for that, I'm going to kind of speed through the whole process and just try to maintain her privacy as much as I can.
Àdúrà yóò gbà. Ẹ máa mi sọ fún wọn. Màá sọ fún wọn. Àdúrà wọn gbà.
So she gave me some cowries, asked me to hold them close to my chest and say a prayer into them, which I did. I said a prayer, I gave them back to her with an offering. As she put them on the calabash on the floor, she did her incantations. She said some prayers, she called to the spirit, and she told me that my prayers have been answered and everything I desire in my life I'm going to get. It was such, a very lovely, wholesome experience for me. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Even though, like I said initially, I don't necessarily subscribe to this belief system, but I know the value of it and I know the use of it in society. It's not just it kind of reminds me of like fortune telling, the way people do tarot card readings, the way they go to fortune tellers to want to know more. I think it's always part of the human experience to want to know more about your life, the pattern of your life. Where is your life going? What are you going to be? If there is anything you should be wary of in future. But I personally believe that we have the power to create our own destiny with the infinite source and God that brought us here. I don't want to make this too long because this video is already long enough as it were. So this brings me to the end of the video. After this time, she still gave us, a lot of explanation of little details that I didn't include in here because I just felt it was going to be too much of a lull. But this was such a wholesome experience for me, and I feel like if you are an African, it is important for us to connect with our roots. It's important for us to know more about who we are, where we come from, and the traditions and spiritual practices of our forefathers, for what we can glean from them. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video so far. And yeah, after this we went to go and eat amala, one of the best amalas I've eaten, because this is real proper Osun State amala. Unfortunately, I couldn't even record the amala process, but yeah, this brings me to the end of my video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Take care of you. Bye.